Well, where do we stand on this tonight? Joining us on Newsnight, Chamber of Mines Chief Negotiator Elize Strydom, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Is the strike going to go ahead tonight, or can you tell us about any 11th hour deal that might have been reached?
No, it sounds as if the strike will go ahead. Tonight's night shift, which starts at about 9 o'clock tonight.
As we're speaking now, are negotiations continuing though?
We are talking to one another. We have been talking since the final offer was made on the table and the unions have declared a dispute and also given the 48-hour notice. So we are continuing our discussions.
When you say you're talking though, you're not all still around a table together. This would be almost bilateral conversation.
Absolutely.
On the telephone, perhaps, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
All right. We
yes.
spoke to a representative from the National Union of Mine Workers last night, and he said the union was prepared to strike until Christmas, his words. Is that how far the gap is between the two sides?
The gap's very far, but the focus would be, if we do have the strike, the focus now needs to be on to have the strike as short as possible and over as quickly as possible. So that's what our focus is going to be.
But given the gap is so wide, how do you
Yes.
change that?
We need to just be creative on both sides. We need to give and take. The Chamber, every time we've made an offer, we've thought about the sustainability of the industry. Every time we've moved, and we've moved a number of times. And on the other hand, the unions have not really moved at all.
So you're saying that you're giving, the union isn't either giving or taking?
Yes.
All right, one senses that the negotiating climate this time around is a lot more hostile, a lot more aggressive perhaps than in previous years. Is that true?
It's undoubtedly for me the most difficult wage negotiations I've ever had experienced. One, because the gold sector is in a very difficult financial position. And secondly, we have 4 unions around the table, including AMCU, which is a new player. So that all of that makes it more difficult.
To what extent is Marikana overshadowing all of this?
To some extent, definitely. 2 unions that are sort of both working towards looking at increasing their membership around one table. It makes things more difficult. And Marikana is there. What we are doing now as the gold mining companies is making every effort to make sure that our employees will be safe. Now there is going to be a strike. Our focus is going to be on to protecting our assets, but also to protect our employees.
What you're saying to me is that you have concern that the strike, as it goes ahead, could become violent.
We hope not, but we have to be prudent, and we've put everything in place to try and avoid that.
You heard President Zuma saying just a moment or two ago that the parties need to find each other. You say that you have to be more creative. That doesn't seem to be anything substantive in that interpretation.
Absolutely, in the sense, what I'm trying to say is that we need to really sit down. There is a strike now. We have to make sure that this strike doesn't last until Christmas. Then there will be no mining industry. I mean, we have to be responsible. We now have to show real leadership on all sides, and we have to find a solution.
Give it to us straight. If the strike is protracted, as it well might be, how many job losses, how many mines could actually close?
Well, that's a difficult one to answer. And every time we've made an offer, we've said sustainability, sustainability. I can answer perhaps in this way. Salaries lost per day will be 100 million rands lost in salaries for the employees. For the companies, we will lose 349 million rands a day in revenue. Those are serious losses, both on the side of the companies and of the employees. This is really something that we need to try and avoid and need to get sorted out as soon as possible.
There are rumours tonight about a lockout by the mining companies. Is that true?
It's one of our options. It's an option provided for in the law, and we will consider whether we need to use that going down the line. But we're going to first see tonight when the guys go out on strike, tomorrow morning, see how things go. But it's certainly an option that we have.
What would determine a lockout decision?
Inter alia, that we want to compel the unions to accede to our demands, and that is that they must accept our offer. And we will also consider the issue of safety and stability.
Thank you very much for joining us. Chief Negotiator at the Chamber of Mines, Elize Strydom, with us here on Newsnight.
News that moves. eNCA.com.